Am I the only one here?
But even after a lifetime in the outdoors,
this was a first for us.
this Sunday brought a brand new experience when she spotted a moose out on the ice.
She wasn't making any noise or anything like that. She was very quiet, a young moose. So when we got and we looked down, we could tell that she was just sprawled out on the river, like on the ice, and couldn't move. So we knew her legs were fine then at that point. But again, it was just to try to figure out what was the next step.
A few minutes later, 2 peace officers joined the couple as they worked to safely get the moose back onto the bank using a ratchet strap from their side-by-side.
At first we were wondering about the ice thickness, but then my husband said, well, you know, that animal has to be at least 400 pounds. So he says, I can go on the ice. So he asked the peace officer to just basically hang on to the strap so that if the ice was to break, he could pull him back.
While the entire rescue mission only took about 30 to 40 minutes, it's an experience that will surely last a lifetime.
As Paris entered 2024, you can see thousands of people amassing to watch the city's firework display. But from this perspective at least, it appears every single one of them had turned up to the event to experience it via their phones. Now, presumably, each of them will upload an identical video to Instagram or TikTok or wherever else they go to harvest views. Am I the only one here?
Number 10 press office. Harry, you've got the wrong number.
Oh my God. This pup has got some skills. Check out what the surveillance cameras caught late at night at Lost Our Home Pet Rescue in Tempe, Arizona. He unlocks several doors and proceeds to throw himself a late night party. The shelter alarm calls the police, and the Tempe police already have 24/7 access to Lost Our Home, in a partnership where they routinely drop off pets in need so they can be in a safe place. OMG. Not only does this officer handle the situation like a pro, but he even cleaned the mess. He did not have to do that. Thank you, Tempe Police.
For the second time in 4 months, a plane transporting Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has broken down on an international trip. This time he was on a family vacation in Jamaica. The Department of National Defense said a maintenance team and aircraft were dispatched to conduct repairs and as backup, but he was able to return on the original plane.
November 30th, while the family's 2 other big dogs were also outside, out of camera view, Lane Dyer says he let the 6-year-old Havanese out to go to the bathroom.
Out of nowhere was attacked by a coyote.
Then another coyote appears. But see that to the left? Well, that's Binks saying not in her backyard.
Jumped down and scared him off. Is the craziest thing ever.
That gave Oakley enough time to run inside.
Cut her open. She was gushing blood, from her chest and her side.
The Dyers rushed Oakley to the hospital. She was stitched up and her leg was put in a splint. Doctors telling family Oakley may lose the limb. Thankfully, it's still intact. But while waiting for her recovery, the Dyers tried to figure out what happened.
Thankfully, we had security cameras. We were able to go back and actually look to see what happened. It was inspiring to see just our little outdoor cat just jump at 2 coyotes that were attacking this little dog who she loves and run them off.
Now Oakley is back to her old self, doing tricks and eating treats, while Binks keeps a watchful eye on the woods. In Edmond, Caitlin Ogle, Oklahoma's News 4.
That cat deserves some treats, too.
January 6th rioters, why did you storm the Capitol? What's the point of having a bunch of cool guns and tactical gear if you never get to use it to overthrow the government? Violent video games and or popular music made me do it. Couldn't tell you. I didn't join the Proud Boys to think for myself. There are hardly any public restrooms in our great nation's capital, so you tell me where we were supposed to go for relief. I wanted to kill some lawmakers and that's where they all were, so that's where I went. For me, it was a classic case of body swapping with my conservative neighbor who I could never relate to until I spent a day in his shoes. Unfortunately, that day was January 6th, and I woke up in his body as he was scaling down the wall of the Senate chamber. Marco Rubio owes me $45.
White rhino Sabby gave birth to her first calf yesterday morning. The zoo says conception was challenging for Sabby because she had longer hormonal cycles than are typical for rhinos. She was monitored by the zoo's reproductive science team. Staff worked overnight shifts to make sure someone was always with Sabby during the later parts of her 16-month pregnancy. The zoo calls this a significant birth because white rhinos are a near-threatened species with only 16,000 left in the wild. The zoo is giving Sabby space to bond with her male calf. The public will most likely get the chance to meet them in the spring. How sweet.
A cat named Ollie is making history in Australia's annual Sydney to Hobart yacht race. He and his crew are sailing the Sylph 6, the oldest boat in this year's race. If the Sylph 6 can successfully reach Hobart, Ollie will be the first feline to complete the race in its 78-year history. Although it's taken Ollie a while to get his sea paws, he's proven to be an important member of the crew.
Well, I think Ollie's already fully prepared. He's an experienced sailor. He's spent several years on the boat now. He's been to New Zealand and back. So I think he's got his sea legs.
Yes, you do.
Well, joining me now is the General Secretary of the RMT Union, Mick Lynch. Mr. Lynch, very good afternoon to you. We were hoping to speak to you last hour, but I understand you were the victim of some travel disruption.
No, not at all. I've been attending a rally here with hundreds of people. Been at Derby this morning on a very vibrant picket line, and there was a mass rally here in the square that we're in, and that's just broken up, and I've gone off to speak to my members. We've had no problems today.
OK, I had understood. We were told you were stuck in some traffic, but clearly that's not a fruitful line of inquiry.
That's completely untrue. It's completely untrue, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, we've all had to have a sense of humour.
I think it was your cameraman that was stuck in the traffic.
OK. Now...
My dear Mum, Dad and Des, I am officially somewhere else. That somewhere else is where I am. I am not at liberty to say. The whole of this land we have arrived in is now top secret. In fact, no one is allowed to know where it is. Even the people who live in it are told to forget they are here. However, the bloody Germans know where it is and don't want to let us have it. Spaghetti. I've been... I've been here about a certain number of days. Spaghetti. And we all arrived here by certain transport and landed at a certain place at a certain time. Of all these facts, I am dead certain. Spaghetti. We are allowed to mention the sky. So I'll say that we have in fact got one. It's directly overhead and high enough to allow you to stand up. The weather, well, it was nice and warm when we landed, but is turning cool, as are the natives. And now there is rain every other day. I'm not with the regiment at the moment. No, I have had an illness called sandfly fever. It's caused, as the name suggests, by getting sand in your flies, which immediately sends your temperature soaring. So despite the cold weather, I'm quite warm, thank you. In fact, my temperature got so high, walking patients used to sit around my bed at night to keep warm. Spaghetti. However, I'm better now. I've still got a temperature, but it's normal. Next, I'll be sent to a bloody awful reinforcement camp where all the mud is sent to be slept on by unclaimed soldiers. So far, the battery have not sustained any casualties except me. Spaghetti. With the censorship as it is, it's pointless to write anymore. All I want you to do is to write and tell me where I am. Spaghetti. Your loving son, brother, midwife, Terry.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. And all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings.
This has been a Tired Terry production 2024.